You've worked hard to earn and save. Now it's time to make your money work hard for you. This is Empower Your Retirement with Frank and Frankie Guida of A Better Way Financial.
Roth conversions, no doubt, have been getting a lot of attention, particularly in the last 5 to 6 years. More so, would you say, Frankie? Was it the law that were signed in 2016? When did it all kick up?
I mean, they've been around.
They've been
for
around
quite a few years now,
yeah.
But it hasn't really been mainstream until the past, really 10 years,
Okay.
the past decade or so.
Everybody's coming to A Better Way Financial saying, what about a Roth conversion? Is it right for me? Well, maybe. That's what we're going to dig into a little bit further here. This is Frankie Guida, certified financial planner, president of A Better Way Financial. I'm Heather Branch, and today we're going to talk about why staying in a traditional IRA may actually be the right move, because you've been hearing so much about Roth conversions, but it doesn't mean that everybody should do one, convert their traditional IRA to a Roth IRA. Staying in a traditional IRA could actually be the better choice depending on what your goals are. We did previously post another video, another podcast about the pros and cons of Roth conversions. We've linked that here so you can go back and watch that video. But today we're going to go through some of the pros and cons of staying in a traditional IRA. So let's first just kind of with a general overview, Frankie, of why traditional IRAs still matter and what they are, their purpose.
Yeah, so traditional IRAs, they initially started out as a way for the government to help people save money. And in essence, what happened was people were saving money into their 401ks or their IRAs when they had those, and they got a nice tax deduction in the year that they put it in. So they didn't have to pay any taxes when that money went in. So that was a huge advantage to this type of structure, whereas any of the other type of investments, for the most part, they had to pay taxes on. And so this was a way where they can at least defer some of those taxes, get a nice tax break. And the thought at the time was, well, when I retire, I'm not going to have as much of an income need because I'm not going to have to go to work. I'm not going to have this high amount of income coming in from work. And so I'll take it out later in my retirement when the income is lower. And so this was something that doesn't always happen, especially with inflation. But there are certainly still cases today where people have those higher income levels and they're not going to be as high in their retirement. So if you're making $500,000 or $1 million in a year, odds are in your retirement, you're probably not going to show that level of income. So in your specific circumstances, it might actually be better to get that tax deduction now instead of getting a tax deduction in retirement when your income tax brackets are lower. And so these are conversations we're having with our higher income clients where we're saying, look, it actually is an advantage to you not to do a Roth conversion or not to have the money in the Roth IRA and actually to have it pre-tax, because putting that money in pre-tax, you're getting that tax deduction now when you actually need it more because the income is higher, because you're having to basically pay taxes on that money later instead of paying tax on that money now. If you're in the 32% tax bracket today and in retirement you're going to be at the 24% tax bracket, why would we want to do a Roth conversion and lock in 32% in taxes instead of just waiting and having that income come later at a 24%? And so these are the things that we discuss with our clients. And we talk about, well, here's the situation. What are the pros of this type of strategy? What are the cons of this type of strategy? The pros are that you get the tax deduction and that you can let that money continue to grow tax deferred all the way up until you take that money out. Now, there is a challenge with that, is that you can't defer it forever. Uncle Sam makes sure that there is a time period that you do have to take it out. It's called your required minimum distribution age. So even if you don't want to take that money out in your 70s, Uncle Sam is going to force you to start taking that money out. So that is a potential disadvantage of that. But you do get to defer it up until that point. You have greater flexibility if your current income is high. So if you're in your peak earning years, you can actually defer those taxes until when those tax brackets might be lower for you, or when you're not creating as much income coming in from work income or from your salary or W-2 or any income that you have coming in. There's no upfront tax costs. So when you do a Roth conversion, when you have that opportunity, you do that Roth conversion, you have that upfront tax cost. You got to pay those taxes right then and there in that year. And so that can create a huge taxable event today. when you put into the traditional IRA, traditional 401k, there is no upfront tax cost. You're actually getting the exact opposite. You're getting a tax deduction in that year that you put it in. So just to paint a picture of what that looks like, if you have $100,000 of work income in a given year, and that's the only income that comes in, you put $25,000 into your 401k, well, then it shows on your W-2 that you only have $75,000 of work income. So only $75,000 that gets taxed instead of the full $100,000 of income that you would have gotten taxed. Another advantage is that in some cases there are potentially lower taxes in retirement. So if you're in a lower tax bracket, then having the money deferred for taxes is advantageous. Now, on the flip side, there are always pros and cons to every investment strategy. And though Roth conversions can be beneficial, so can keeping money in the traditional IRAs. And not every situation is a one-size-fits-all where it makes sense for every person to Roth convert, or it makes sense for every person to have that situation where you keep it in the traditional IRA. And there are cons to keeping it in the traditional IRA. One of those cons is that you have taxable withdrawals later. So whether you wait until that required minimum distribution age or once you retire and you need to start taking that income, when you take that income out, you have to pay the taxes on it. The other con, like I mentioned earlier, you have those RMDs, and that's whether that's on you, whether it's your traditional IRA, or whether you leave that as a legacy. If your kid or beneficiary inherits those funds, they still have to take RMDs, and they have to pay the taxes on it as well. It also creates less flexibility. So without Roth assets available, you really only have one place or one bucket of money to take that money from, and you have to pay the taxes on it. Potential exposure to higher future tax rates is another con, right? If the taxes go up in the future, like let's say they don't stay the same way that they are today, if they go up, well then we're actually deferring, and then at those higher tax rates, we have to pay those because we're getting a tax deduction now at these potentially lower tax rates, and if they go up in the future, we're paying the taxes at a higher potential tax rate. So these are some of the things that you want to think about as you're looking to see, should I be contributing pre-tax? Should I be contributing Roth? But there's also things that you can do from a financial planning element of it. And we use our financial planning software to figure out, well, where is your current tax bracket at? What does it look like today? Maybe you're in the 12%, maybe you're in the 22 or the 24% tax bracket. We see exactly where you're at today. And then we project over the next 20 to 30 years, what does it look like in your retirement? And so if the taxes are going to be higher in your retirement, well then let's put it into the Roth now so that you're getting that money tax-free, and then you're not having to pay the taxes later when the tax brackets are higher. If the taxes are looking like they're going to be lower in your retirement because you're in a higher income status today than you're going to be in your retirement years, well, then it may make sense to put that money traditional. And so working with a fiduciary retirement planner to look through your personal situation and seeing what can you do, how can we protect our portfolio from these taxes, how can we make sure we're paying the least amount in taxes over the course of our retirement years. This is what we focus on here at A Better Way Financial. And so if you want to learn about what you can do and what options you have, this is your first step. There is a link in the show notes here where you can click on that link and we can get discussing about your personal situation, about what your goals are, and seeing how do we mitigate those taxes. Should I be contributing into the traditional portion, or should I be contributing into the Roth portion? What can I do with my portfolio to minimize my taxes in my retirement years? So these are the types of conversations that we can have. Just by watching the video today, you're able to click on that link in the show notes and we can have that conversation with you.
Thanks for listening to Empower Your Retirement with Frank and Frankie Guida. To learn more, visit abetterwayfinancial.com.
By contacting us, we'll review aspects of your retirement portfolio to include suggestions about how best to utilize estate, tax, and retirement planning strategies and other financial services, or if changing management styles is appropriate for your specific needs and objectives. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed should not be considered investment advice or recommendations to buy or sell any financial vehicle. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments can fluctuate and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. A Better Way Financial is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency. Annuity guarantee fees rely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. Any client experiences discussed during this show are unique to that client, and they are not meant to imply or suggest you will experience the same results. Advisory services offered through A Better Way Financial. Insurance offered through licensed professionals at A Better Way Financial. Pennsylvania Insurance License number 301779.